Okay, it's starting. All right. Welcome back, guys. This is Coach Joe Bala of Joe Bala Fitness. This is my podcast. I'm on my next episode with another guest. She is someone I met through the owner of CrossFit of Fremont, Joewel Pascual. So he's a physical therapist. My guest is also a physical therapist, and she's also a run coach. So this is why I wanted to bring her on, because she has a lot of valuable knowledge and insight, and is very helpful, has been very helpful to me as an athlete, but also can be potentially very helpful to you as athletes that are watching and listening to this. So I'd love to welcome Dr. Irina. So welcome, Dr. Irina.
Thank you.
Dr. Irina is also known as Coach Irina. And I heard from the owner at what was the store that's in Campbell, Running Revolution or something?
Yeah,
like
Running Revolution. Yeah,
he told me he calls you Coach Rocket, right? So
yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, where this rocket comes from. If you could give me like a quick 1-minute pitch, like about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so the rocket comes from a RunRocket PT and Wellness. That's my business that I started in 2021 during the pandemic. And the nickname Rocket actually given by one of my teammates in my Too Legit Fitness. I guess I'm somewhat fast, so that's where it's coming from. Like you said, I'm a doctor of physical therapy, graduated in 2008 from University of Southern California. And then, like every other PT, you go from clinic to clinic to clinic, orthopedic, and just trying to find yourself. Running was always part of my life, and I always dreamed to make it my career if I could. And then I think pandemic, as much as I wish COVID was not a thing, it kind of pushed me to figure something out, because I have 2 little kids at the time. I had a 6-year-old and 18-month-old. And once school is closed, like, what do? You become a teacher overnight, right? And at the time I was just training, and you always have people like, oh, my knee hurts, Irina, like, can you take a look? So that's what I did, just as a friend. And then I was like, well, what if I do that as a business? So that's kind of what, and then I got certified for run coaching, and that's what I do now. Train people for marathon, half marathons, and I do youth, which is kind of my passion. I love training youth, like high schoolers, and teaching them about proper form, strength training, get them early before they become, older and make all the mistakes we all made. But yeah, that's kind of what I do now, just training them, training adults. And then I'm a huge component of strength training, CrossFit, all the things.
I love it. Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to dig in a little bit about your background in physical therapy. So you said you're a DPT. Those that are listening, they may not know what DPT means. That's Doctor of Physical Therapy. So you went from DPT to run coach. So that before you did that transition, that was how much of your career in terms of like starting there and like building into what you are today? Like how much of that time frame?
It's about 10 years. So I started working in 2008 in October, and then I work in Union City for almost 2 years, and then the commute it's crazy at 880, so I wanted to be closer. And then I work in Sunnyvale orthopedic clinic, and that's where I started having more runners. And then I got opportunity. I treated a client that went to Monte Vista High School, and I guess they've been going through doctors to doctors and different clinicians, and couldn't figure out what's wrong with her. I figured it out, and then she was able to compete, and I believe she went and go ahead and run in college. So her coach kind of came in one day and is like, what is it going to take for you to help us? To have like a strength training. So I ended up doing that for 12 years. As a volunteer, I guess you can call it like strength training, injury prevention. And that's kind of where I was like, man, if I can just do that for the rest of my life, this is going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
And then I started having kids, and I don't do that anymore, but I do that now on my own. So yeah, it takes time. And then I figured like I already ran about 5 marathons on my own. So I kind of knew how to plan it, but then I want to learn more. I'm kind of like a life student. So I constantly take continuing education courses, listen to podcasts. When I drive from client to client, I always listen to like a audiobook, a podcast, anything I can learn new. There's always research coming out. There's always new things, and I try to stay on top of it. It's kind of like technology. You always have to be on top of it,
Yeah.
ahead of it, right? So yeah, it wasn't like overnight success, which people like, oh wow, you're like building up all these things. I'm like, yeah, but the back end of things, it was like I've been a PT since 2008, so it's been a while.
Been quite a while, yeah. So
Yeah.
when you coming from the physical therapy background, you met this runner, you helped her basically rebuild to be able to do this marathon, right? So, and you said you did about 5 marathons to date. I know in working with you, you've mentioned your background with running, like you've qualified for Boston Marathon, right?
Not yet. I am chasing that.
Oh, okay, that's one of your goals.
Yeah.
Okay, so like,
Yeah, that's one of my goals.
so like that's for me. Like I've done one marathon, and prior to that, half marathon, and then I was like, oh, this is not easy, right? Just running that amount of
Right.
distance, right? And
Yeah.
it's involved and all that. And just to share like my background with that, like a quick story is my wife was into marathon running. She did like 4 of them, and then there was a conversation one time at a party. They're like, Joe, you can't run long distance, because they know I'm more of a faster athlete. I don't do a lot of
Right.
long distance. And at the time, I was like 200 pounds, just like, mass, like, bigger.
Right.
I was trying to get stronger, bigger. And I was like, I could do that, So not knowing what's involved, the amount of mass you have to move to run, it's just, my body wasn't conditioned for it. I was really strong. I was really big, but I couldn't run like I used to when I was younger, because I used to do track as a kid.
Right.
And I love like 100-meter, 200-meter, 400-meter, and then I was doing like the mile, but I never really got into like, longer distances, cross country, all that stuff. And so for you, like to tell me about those stories that you have in terms of training, what you do, and like seeing that's very like inspiring for me. And when eventually I did my half marathon. I came in dead last, so it was like really bad. My whole family, they all finished, and there was like 8 of us that went. This was at Santa Cruz half marathon, beautiful place. And I
Right.
was just like, about the last maybe 2 miles, I was like, oh, I had to stop. Literally, I hit the wall and I couldn't move. And I was just standing there, just trying to walk a little bit, and finally found it in me. People were just rushing, past me, and they were like, you got this, you got this. So I found it in me to just finish. And I got the worst, teasing ever, because like, see, we told you couldn't run. And so after that, they're like, all right, let's try a full marathon. So then at that point, long story short, I did the Nike Women's San Francisco Marathon with my wife. That's the one that she was always doing. And I beat all of them on that. But in the process of doing that, I learned so much about myself. Like I lost 22 pounds of mass. I went from 200 down to like 160-ish pounds, like high 160. And I realized like I like how I feel when I'm lighter, because I'm able to move better, I'm faster, but I can still maintain my strength. And so being a DPT, now you're a run coach, like how important is strength training for runners? Like how much, I know you mentioned that that's a big thing for you. You also mentioned CrossFit, but like how much of that emphasis do you teach your clients?
So all my clients, when I design their program, had strength training. I mean, in reality, I can't force them to do it, but what I tell people, it's non-negotiable. There's like, I'm one of those run coach, because the individuals that I train, they're busy. They're professionals. They have full-time job and like kids and all the things. We're not elites. Like That's not our job. Like, I wish all your job is like just train, run, eat, sleep. But in reality, that's just not us. So I tell them, like, if all you have time is to do one workout, do strength. You can skip a run, but do strength. Because if they don't, a lot of runners, all they like to do is run more, not stretch, not do mobility work. And they can get away when they're on the younger side of things until certain point. And then there will be in the injury cycle, and then they'll have to see me from that standpoint. And I tell them, like, I'm happy to see you, but I'd rather see you from a prevention standpoint. Like, let's see what your deficits are. Let's videotape your running gait and see your squats in all their form. And let's see, make sure you strength training properly. Because I'm sure as a coach yourself, like, I can't tell you how many of my runners just refuse to do deadlifts. Just flat out, like, not gonna do it. And I am pretty stubborn and pretty convinced that I'm like, let me just show you how to hip hinge properly, and you will not hurt your back. And you do not need to look, I go to UFC, so there are CrossFitters there, and they're lifting, like, I turn and I'm like, I don't even want to count how many weights. It just looks, these guys are big and they have the belt and they, and they can do it, and their form is good. I'm like, power to you. And here I am with my, bar and, 25 pounds in each. And I feel pretty badass because it is my body weight. It's more than my body weight. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not the exercise that's going to hurt you. It's the way you do that. Mm-hmm. And I get it. But yeah, so a lot of people do push back. Some of them just want to do body weight, which I think is a good way to start. Like, if you're a new runner or a new athlete, yeah, body weight is enough to learn, like, a neuromuscular control and input. But if you really want to be resilient and build that resilience in your bone, tendon, and muscles, you got to hold some weight to it. But yeah, strength training, like I tell people, non-negotiable. I don't care what you're saying. And it doesn't have to be complicated. That's like my thing. A lot of people feel intimidated. Like, okay, I go to the gym and there's all these machines and you know what I mean? There's just so much. And then there's a lot of, I feel like now with social media, I mean, there's so much stuff out there with YouTube. And if you don't have background, like personal trainer, chiropractor, PT, coach, you won't know how to filter out from good education versus just people posting for the sake of posting, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not, and what works for me when I work for Coach Joe or any of your other clients on mine. So that's what having a coach to design it for you, because they know your private, all the injuries you had or your time restraint. You don't need to work out for 45 minutes. Like, I tell people, like, do 5 minutes in the morning, mobility, go to work, take breaks in between meetings. If you can take a meeting, like a walking meeting where you're just listening, because half of the meetings, at least my husband, it's just, he has headphones on and then he's just coding. I'm like, can you just like go walk around the block with the dog so you can like have some circulation going? Mm-hmm. So I don't believe it. All workouts have to be the same hour. Like, I have days where I'll go right after track and I just do 2 exercises that require like a bar. But if anything else in my list is like floor exercise or dumbbells, which I have in my house, I'll just finish it at the end of the day when I'm done coaching or treating clients. So you just have to be creative, and it has to be fun. Like, if it's just one thing that you just have to like check in your to-do list, then why do it? If it's not fun, why do it? In my opinion.
Yes, I love that. I think that's important that you said that, because if it's not fun, you're not going to enjoy doing it, and then you won't want to do it again, probably, or at least consistently, right? The biggest thing for me as a coach, like consistency for my clients, for anyone I coach, like they need to continue to show up, because we're trying to work towards, what we defined when they first reached out to me, which is what they needed, their help. What did they define as their goals with my help? And like really clear cut, like, okay, we're gonna have a timeline behind this. What's the purpose behind it? And then what do we need to do to focus on it and make sure it fits in their their working life, their day-to-day daily activities, right?
Right.
Or ADL, right? Activities of daily living. That's a big one because most people, like you said, are not elite athletes. They don't have the luxury of not having a day job, and they just, work out 2-3 times a day, and they get paid to train, to work out, to perform. So the majority of us, the general population, we need to be mindful of that, right? And so we can't do what you see online because that's not reality. That's a big one. So you mentioned earlier, when you do movements, it's not the exercise, not the exercise that hurts you, it's actually how you do it, right? The movement part.
Right.
How big are you on, starting with the fundamentals, form? So like a deadlift. Do you start off with simple body, you said body weight, right? So maybe like a good morning or something like that.
Right.
How would you progress? Like, let's say I was your newest client, and my background already because you've seen me multiple times treating me and then just knowing me now. So, I have a background in CrossFit. I'm a Spartan coach and like Ninja Warrior and all this other stuff that I do. But just coaching me, like, how would you walk me through, like getting my deadlift and variations of it so that I can run better?
Right.
How would you walk me through that, or someone like me?
Yeah. So because you experience, I think at first I will ask you to do one. And then if we're in person, I will see it. But if you're not in person, that's where I feel like technology and video is key. Like I ask a lot of my clients, like, please video your exercise, especially if they have difficulty with. And the key is make sure you have the proper hinging and that timing of when you come up. Make sure you're not extending through your back. Make sure you use that posterior chain. And there's a variation. Like I even put people against the wall so they can really feel that, the butt is going back enough. And then just progressively load you. Like we can start with a lot of my clients intimidated by the bar. I know you can do crazy stuff. I've seen it this past weekend. I was like, oh, I wish I can do that. And it was like fast. I'm like, I'm ready. I'm lucky if I can just do once. But yeah. And then just be very careful. I tell deadlift, one wrong move, a little bit too heavy weight, and we will engage the back too much, and then there is a risk of injury. But if you're careful enough, and I tell people the key is you have to go slow, unless for whatever reason your coach told you do it in tempo. I don't. I tell people deadlifts is where you have to be focused. Don't be distracted by music or anything else. You gotta be intentional. And that's what I tell people, like, find the time where you can really be focused and intentional with your workouts. So you can really feel, are you engaging the right muscle? Are you engaging your glute? Is it your hamstring? Are you feel it in your upper body when you do deadlifts? Then that's a problem. Like that's a compensation, right? So, but if you're just there, just to do it, just because you have a meeting or you got to run and pick up your kid, then maybe that day is not the time for you to do this exercise because you're just at high risk of injury if you're not careful.
Right.
But we have to be progressive. And that's what I tell people, like, they're like, well, I do strength training. I was like, okay, so what have you been doing? I've been doing this program for 6 months. I'm like, you mean like every day, every week, you do the same thing? I'm like, uh-huh. And now you're telling me I'm weak. I'm like, exactly. It's like, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, but you plateau. Of course, I mean, no runner or strength person want to hear that. But we have, as you know, you have to progressively load in order to get stronger. And I think a lot of runners forget how much, like every time you hit the ground, there's a lot of forces goes through your legs. So if you're not strength training, that's when the body weight is not enough because it's 3 times of your body weight that you're hitting. So we have to put something. You have to get some weights. You can start with 10 pounds, but we gotta, with time and the faster you run, like a sprinter, or if you have like a goal of a Boston or just a fast, you gotta add more so you can sustain. So the way I tell my runners, like, look, strength training might be boring. And I don't think it's boring. I love it. But I was like, you got to do the boring stuff in order to be able to do fun stuff for a longer period of time and for longer. Like I personally, I don't know about you, I want to be able to be in my 70s, 80s, still do the pull-ups, still do the, you know what I mean? Whatever I want. I want to make sure I can get out of my chair and
Yeah.
not somebody helping me, because that's what happened when I was in Florida. My father-in-law had to have two people helping him literally get out of the couch, and it wasn't a low couch. He's
Mm.
just not strong enough.
Yeah.
I want to be that. I might not be running marathons in my 70s, 80s. Who knows? Maybe I will be. But I definitely don't want any help. Like I want to be able to drive by myself. I want to be able to, take care of my grandkids on the floor and not be afraid I can't get up.
Yeah. That's a big
Yeah.
one. That's a huge one. I love that you mentioned that, because there was this thing I saw online. I think CrossFit put it up. It was, why do we need to know how to do a burpee? And they show a CrossFit guy doing the burpee, right? I think it's on YouTube and Instagram. He does his burpee, which is basically if people that are watching, listening, they don't know what a burpee is. I hope they do, because that's why they should be watching this podcast or listening. Is you drop your hands on the ground, you squat down. When you do that, you kick your feet back, bring your chest and thighs to the floor, and then you pop back up, right? And so then they cut away to an older gentleman, and they go, this is why you need to do burpee. And he's showing him coming down to the ground, and he's not doing it as fast as the younger guy, but he's basically doing the same movement pattern, right? Squat down, he kneels, half kneels, and then gets his hands on the ground, and then he half kneels back up, or he comes down all the way, then you get half kneel back up and stand. And that's basically what a lot of elderly folks we have in our community, in our families, is what they do. Let's say they fall, they trip. That's basically the bottom of the burpee, right? How would they get back up? And it's such a powerful message. And, like you said, you want to be 70, 80, 90, be able to do these things. I tell this to my clients and everyone else that I coach, is I want to be that 93-year-old ninja warrior that's on TV and, beat that course, because I want to move well into my 90s, and I might not run as fast like you mentioned, but I'm still moving, right? And the whole point is to move, because movement is medicine, and that's why we need to do what we need to do. There's a post you put up on your Instagram. I love this one. It shows you running. So this will be part of the cover or splash screen for this podcast, but you have you define your coaching and therapy philosophy, which I love. So you mentioned in there, running is more than just miles, it's movement, mindset, and longevity. Can you kind of dig into what that means to you, but then also how can an athlete like me or someone that you're going to coach potentially, what would that mean for them?
So I treat every athlete, in my mind, it's not how I can help him now. Is my goal is to get him through life long term. Like it's a long term, I guess, relationship, you could put it that way. Because like I said, like we're all gonna get injured at some point. This is just reality. Like yes, strength training can keep you resilient, but if we run long enough, something will kind of flare up. Even for me, like I trained really hard for MESA, which was 3 weeks, maybe a month ago now. And while hosting a boot camp for youth, I did nothing crazy. I just did cat and camel, but I just ran 15K super fast in San Francisco, ran it, PR, got him stretched, not enough. That's a big lesson. And, sat in my car and drove to this boot camp. And then I had to show them what to do. And once I did I was like, my back just like, And then I kind of like shook it off and I was like, okay, I'm good. And the next day I could barely walk, dude. And I was like, okay, I have 3 weeks. I wasn't trying to like freak out. But the reason I'm saying this story is because I did recover. I was able to run the race. It wasn't Boston qualification anywhere there, because I consciously chose not to run fast because I didn't want that injury to get worse. So I did finish the next day. I didn't have any pain. You know, I was a little stiff and I recovered. And I think partially why I recovered so fast is because I was already strong. I know, and okay, blessing, I'm PT, I know exactly what to do and all the things. And the reason I'm saying that, that's why for me, it's not just like, oh, here, run these miles, and I'll look at my app and be like, oh, good job, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you can go on the Google and find marathon training. I mean, there's just so much out there, but I'm more intentional. Like, I communicate pretty much on a daily basis. I want to make sure you're doing the strength training, and do the runs, and warm up and cool down is huge. And I learned it. I mean, I knew that. I was just running out of time, and I was just trying to get to the place I need to be. I mean, I learned my lesson the hard way, but I also was coming out of lots of PRs. I think it's just I was training really, really hard, and the body was, you know, starting to talk, and sometimes we ignore them. That's why you need a coach to tell you. I have my own coach, so he tells me when I need to listen more. So yeah, longevity is huge, because I do see some of my friends in their 50s, they are injured and then they're like, oh, it's okay. I'm fine. I'm like, are you sure? Because you don't look fine. Because I can see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the gait is off or something is off. And I know, like, this is like my new pet peeve, the whole infomercial of Advil. So for the record, I do not recommend people to take Advil when they're in pain and then go work out. If you're going to take Advil, don't work out. It's not good for your liver, and you're just masking the pain. What I mean by that is you're not going to feel the pain, so then you think you're fixed. So then you're going to push, but your body won't give you a true response.
Yeah.
Right? So then you're just going to injure yourself more, and then you won't be able to run or compete or whatever else. So what I don't typically shut down my clients unless, you know, something is torn. Stress fracture, that's a big one. You obviously can't run when you have fractured bones. Some people try. Again, not recommended.
Mm-hmm.
But so I tell people, like, look, if you get hurt, active recovery is a key, like biking, swimming. You can still do strength training, but rest is not an answer. So a lot of times, you know, you go to, no disrespect to physicians, but you'll go to the doctor, and what did they tell you? Don't run. Right? If you're telling me you're in pain, don't run. That's why a lot of runners, we don't go to doctors, because we don't want to hear that. Or we'll try to find a doctor that will tell us what we want to hear, which might not be a good advice either.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I build the philosophy is, it's very personal. The training is going to be about you and your goals, and what's the easiest way to incorporate that in your life. Because I want that to be, like I said, fun and enjoyable, not just a chore to get it done. Because and the running is all about, like, life, right? Like you said, you learn a lot. Like I tell people, like, if you want to be really strong mentally, run a marathon. Like, your life will change, because, you know, and the process to actually train for it, it's about 4 or 5 months. Your life would change. I don't know. I don't care what people say. You're just not the same person. And because I'm a marathon runner, I kind of treat that like my business that way, because things don't happen overnight. It's like, I tell people, life is a marathon, and it's like this, right? You're going to have the ups and downs and very downs, and then you're going to have a high and the lows, and it kind of helps I think being a runner helps me kind of navigate when we don't get the time you want, or like you didn't get the contract you want, you know, all the things. So that's kind of my philosophy, is like, the biggest thing is longevity. Like, yes, I can provide a training block that is super, super hard, but is that what you really want?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a big listener. So when I meet someone, I'm like, you tell me what you want. I want to hear what your vision is. You know, why do you want to qualify for Boston? Is it just because to say you ran it, or because you know you can do it and this is just a proof to yourself? Like, it could be silly, but for me, that's what I want. And I know I'm close. So it's not for me. Am I going to have a great life without it? Sure. But it's just one of those things. And for me, I want to leave something, like a legacy for my kids. So I want them to know that if you work hard goal, you're going to get it, but it's not going to be quick.
Right.
So I'm okay that I didn't get it right away because they see me trying. Like Matthew, every day, it's like every time I come back from a race. So did you do it? No. Oh, you got to train again. I'm like, yep. But I think it's a good lesson for a 10, 11-year-old to learn that it's like, it's not an overnight activity. I mean, sometimes it takes people one time to try it, but Boston keep taking time away from me. So, but I'm not giving up. It's just, it's not if, it's when, and my time will come.
That's powerful that you say that. I love that mindset because a lot of clients I speak with are they reach out to me. They want to do a Spartan race, or they want to do a DECA, they want to do a high rocks, or they just want to run, or be able to run and do strength, like functional fitness, CrossFit, whatever.
Mhm.
And their mindset is a big one. Like, just for you to say that, that's a powerful thing. It's not when, it's not if, it's when, right? And shifting that perspective is, I think, for me, and I'm sure for you, a big part of the coaching part of our job is helping people shift their mindset, their view, their perspective on their journey, right? Because they reach out to us and they go, I want to do this. How can you help me? And then, but you're like, then you have to understand, like, okay, but where are you coming from? What's your history? What's your background? What's driving you to do that? And is that really a good goal right now? Maybe that needs to be a very long-term goal. And then you have these short-term goals that we're going to build towards that, And so, earlier you mentioned progressive, you mentioned you were referring to progressive overload with strength training. So with running specifically, run training specifically, let's say I have a Spartan race athlete that wants to get way better at running. I know some things about running, but I don't know everything, and I would love to refer them to you, right? So, for example, I have some clients that want to train for Spartan Beast, which is the half marathon version of a Spartan race. So they're out there, a pretty long distance, like 21, half marathon's 21K. Is that right? Or is it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, but that's on mountains and hills and like varied terrain. Sometimes very technical terrain, like rocks and dirt, and they're running downhill, they're running uphill, they're running, turns. And then on top of that, we have obstacles. So that's my specialty, is the obstacles. My specialty is helping them get from, building them up from start to finish. But like, I would love to be able to refer a client to a coach like you that has a specialty in running, but also is a physical therapist, because if I'm saying it now, if not when, because there's potential that they may get hurt during training, because they might overtrain. So if you were to take on this Spartan client for me or help with that, how would you tailor their running to complement what they're doing with me as a Spartan client? Like, being that I would be the Spartan coach, like, how would you kind of attack that?
Yeah. So a lot of runners, especially if they want to get faster, they kind of sit in the bucket of like all their miles, especially long miles, they're running too fast. So the whole like 80-20 rule, where 80% of your miles supposed to be easy miles, and then depends who you ask, they're like, what does that mean? Like, elite easy could be like 6:30 pace, and then for me, I'm like dying on that pace, right? So I tell people, convo pace. You should be able to sing if you want to sing, but you should be able to like us talking now, like as we're running and talking this conversation, that should be easy. And most of long runs supposed to be that way. To kind of build that endurance, and then it has to be like specific, because I'm gonna know that that runner is trail. Most likely I'm gonna put him on the trails. Like a lot of their running will be on a trail, heel repeats to get, legs stronger, hips stronger, increase the form. And then definitely, I believe in track workouts. So that's where the speed happen. So basically you have to have long runs for just endurance base. And then specifically on the trails, Even if, let's say, if it's like here in San Jose, you can just run that course, not all of it, but progress them like 10K and then 8 miles, 9 miles. And, I usually, when people train for a half, I do go over half just to kind of give them that confidence booster that they can finish.
Mm-hmm.
So I go like 14, 16 just to kind of get them over the hump of, I don't know, some people just do 10 and then I think the last 5K of a half, you can hit the wall, kind of similar to a 20 miler in a marathon. And then just make sure the form is good. So I will definitely like video them running when we start and then kind of video a few times, just make sure it's progressing in the right way. But the key is a lot of this run, and nutrition is huge. I know we don't talk about nutrition and it is kind of out of scope of my practice. I tell people what I do, but I do refer out. In the community, I have another coach, that's her expertise. So I'll refer people out because they need to make sure they take in, protein intakes and all the things. And recovery is huge. For me, I think if we recover quicker, then we can perform, we can train more. So if you don't recover, you can't train. And that could be anything from mobility work, compression boots, nutrition is part of it. I feel like it, yoga, sauna. I mean, there's just so much out there. People just have to find what works for them. And every runner is not the same. Like your recovery, you might not recover as much as I do. Women and men are different. We have more hormones than men, and we're just more complicated physiologically.
Yeah.
Maybe other ways too. But yeah, that's what I will do, like very specific. So if it's a road race, we train on the road. If it's trail, we stay with trails and things like that.
Yeah, I love that because a lot of people think I'm going to do a Spartan race and I'm just going to train on the road the whole time, or I'm going to train on the treadmill the whole time, or the assault runner. And I'm like, that's nice, but then it's not very specific, and specificity.
It's important.
It's important, right? And
yeah,
and the other thing too, like they don't realize that you have to get in the environment, the specificity part, get in the environment that you're going to be in so that you are in the right mindset, but also just better proprioception, better awareness, like about your foot placement, and we can dig into all the other things like what type of running they do, if they're heel striking or things like that. But the main thing is get them in the environment because it's going to feel different compared to road running or track running or treadmill. So with that said, you know that I'm a DECA coach. I'm also a DECA affiliate. You referred to earlier how you saw me work out on Saturday. So those that are listening, watching, Coach Irina is referring to my DECA Atlas event that just happened this past weekend as we're recording this. And I think you were there the whole time. You watched me through, or was it like part way?
No, I don't think I saw you compete, but I saw like Coach Nick and the rest of the people. Yeah.
So the first movement was the barbell thruster, right? So it's a squat. You have the barbell in the front rack, and then as you come up, full extension to the hips, you're just gonna pop the weight overhead. The guys are lifting 95 pounds. The full Atlas, the girls are doing 65 pounds. And then if we scale down, it will be 65 and 45 for the guys and girls respectively. So that's a big, challenge, DECA Atlas. But I kind of want to dig into DECA. So people that are training for like DECA Mile or DECA Fit. So DECA Mile, those that are listening and watching, they may not know what that is, but DECA Mile is basically 10 zones. They're all the same, DECA, Strong, Mile, and Fit. And you have the running component now. So basically, if you're doing it by yourself, you're going to run 80 meters out and back. So it's 160 meters. Depending on how the DECA affiliate and gym sets it up, it's going to be about 160 meters, right? So you go out and back, and then you do zone 1. Zone 1 is the reverse lunge, and you're basically moving from zone 1 to zone 2. But every time before you hit the zone, you have to do the run. And so that kind of running is a popular term that goes around these days is compromised running, or you're running under fatigue, right? Or basically. So how much of that do you yourself as a coach see with your clients, or have you coached anyone like that that is doing these kind of things now? And DECA's not the only thing. It's High Rocks now is a very popular
Yeah,
one.
I heard about that. Yeah.
So what have you seen as a run coach yourself, other than me, because you helped me, but
Right.
like how would you attack and help a client that's doing these things? Like if they came to you, Coach Irina, I want to be better at the running piece so I can do these zones as quick as I can, get from start to finish, because I'm trying to qualify for, world championships or something like that.
Right. So they run strength like that?
Yeah, so it's run strength or run conditioning, cardio.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
like conditioning or cardio would be like rower or or air bike. There's also like a sled or a tank in DECA. In High Rocks, it's they have skier, they have rower, and then they don't have an air bike, but they do have a sled. So knowing that, because it's kind of an alternating thing, mix of strength and conditioning with the running piece.
Right. So we just have to simulate their running in a fatigue state. So that could be like a track you can do, 50 to 100, 400 laps, like super fast, and then make them do 800 or a mile repeats because you're already like burned out.
Yeah.
That's the workout we did today. So the coach like, how do you feel about 800? I'm like, it was tough, but a lot of it is like you say, it's mental, right? Or even simulate like a mini, DECA mile. Like okay, go run for a mile now. Do some do some workout like strength training and then go back again. Like you have to train yourself like a part of the competition, not all out, but we gotta definitely fatigue. It's similar to if you train for ultra marathons. A lot of ultra marathoners, they won't just run on Saturday. They will run like 30 miles on Saturday and then they'll run another like maybe half marathon on Sunday because they're already fatigued. To simulate that 50K, 50 miler, like whatever, 100 miler. So we just have to simulate that lactic acid buildup in your body. So to make it less painful. Like people ask, like when you run the marathon, no matter how well you train, I tell people you're gonna have a moment where like, I don't want to say it's gonna hurt, but you're sore, you're fatigued, you're tired, mentally you're tired. So the training is training you to be more resilient to that. Like you're still gonna have a hard time, but if you train properly, like for High Rocks, like you can do, if you have the ski machine at the gym, okay, do the ski machine, whatever you were supposed to do. You could go outside and run around the parking lot, come back and do the sled, and then you know what I mean. Like we got to simulate kind of like similar competition in a smaller maybe increments, or if it's a sparring race and they want to run faster, maybe make them run the first 5-6 miles at easy pace and then the last 4 or 5 finish faster, like a fast finish. So maybe decrease your miles by like 20-30 seconds, whatever you can do. But we got to stimulate that tired legs, and maybe you run on Monday and you train on Monday, and then instead of taking easy on Tuesday, make you run again to kind of simulate that accumulation of fatigue. Like your body has to feel what that means, so when they go on competitions, like, oh, I got this. Yeah, they're gonna be sore, but it's not gonna be like, oh my god, I'm done after like zone 5 or something like that. You don't want zone 11 to show up at zone 5. No. That's what you said, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you mentioned zone 11. That's what I love that. Yeah, because those that are watching, listening, zone 11, what Coach Irina is referring to is after a DECA, you exit zone 10, which is the ram burpee. And zone 11 is where you're just laid out. You can't move. You're just laid out. Most people are doing that. Unless you're an elite athlete, they can walk away, no problem, right? But the general population, we're just laid out, and that's a nice place to be, but it's going to take it's gonna feel like it's a world of hurt. But that's why we do these things, because we want to challenge ourselves, want to move better and do things like that. And that kind of ties into what I wanted to ask you next was the community piece, the accountability piece, the support. Like you mentioned in your post there, running is hard, but you don't have to do it alone. I love that, because me being an athlete, I love to run alone. Because that's kind of my place where I can like process things. I'm sure you're the same, but it's also important to get out there and do the community part, because they are there to encourage, to push, to challenge you, especially when you run with a group, because there's all these different levels. Some are like really fast, maybe a rocket like you, or some that are just like, on the tail end and just starting out. They maybe ran a long time ago and they're just trying to get a piece of what they used to do and get healthier, build that longevity. So for you, how big is community? How much of that do you emphasize for your clients and the ones that you coach?
So I'm huge in the community. That's kind of like where I'm in the community myself, but as a like RunRocket athlete, I try to run with them if I can. Like I just paced a client of mine this past weekend. And I try to get it and I have clients like you and I, like there's times I just grab my dog and then I'm like, I just need to do 3-4 miles and I don't have time to maybe drive to Los Gatos or whatever else. But I feel like with COVID, we were so isolated. And for some people, for the mental health, people are craving human connection. This is where I feel like AI will never take our jobs, because yes, AI can create plans, but they can't take away human connection. That's just my personal opinion. And I'm huge in the community. Like I'm a race director for a local run for that reason. And I'm huge about keeping especially women safe as a runner. That's why I believe no woman should ever run alone. Doesn't matter if it's 5 a.m. in the dark, noon, 3, like you should be able to like get your phone, text a friend, and somebody should be able to run with you.
Right.
Because there's too many horrible things been happening, and just no woman, they all have to come back home to their families.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm huge about creating, like, yeah, I might be fast, but I pace Coach Sabrina, one of my other friends, and we collaborate a lot. Her first official marathon in Savannah, Georgia in November, and took us 7 hours. But being on the other side of back of the pack, that's what they call them. A lot of people say they're slow, and it's all relative. You kind of see running differently, because by the time we got there, aid station was already almost gone. People don't cheer for you. You kind of just have to be like self-efficient. And I was ready. I had my vest. I have all the gels and all her water. Like I was just a Sherpa. Like I was just there just to make sure she finished. But it just made me realize like community is huge for people. Like some people, like they will only come out if they know somebody. Like today, perfect example. It was pouring rain, but one of my teammates needed a ride to the track. And she texts me at 4:20. I'm getting ready. I'm like, all right, I'm up. Coffee ready. And it pouring out. I mean, you were there, right? It's like the moment I took my raining jacket, it's like, it was just pouring.
Yeah.
And we stayed. And I'm glad I finished, because today I'm so busy. It won't happen.
Right.
So even for people, and I'm motivated, like I'm self-motivated. I don't need people to like get me going to do stuff. I just do it because I feel better for mental. And for me, it's like, I feel like I have to model what I preach. Otherwise, I feel like I'm a hypocrite. My kids are watching, and you really don't know who's watching. I can't tell you how many times I post things and I think it's going nowhere with algorithm and all the way Instagram and social media goes. Like I am not an influencer. I'm not trying to be an influencer. I'm just trying to create a better environment for people to stay healthy as long as possible, because it is possible. You just have to be consistent, say yes, invest in yourself, and it will happen.
Yeah.
So that's why I try to create, like this weekend, I have a boot camp for youth. I have boot camp for adults to keep runners healthy. And then Saturday is an International Women's Day. So I invite all women in the community and just, you don't want to run, don't run. It's a walk, it's a gather, and then nutritionists will talk, and then pelvic floor OT will talk, just to kind of create that space that it's okay to talk if you have all these issues. And then just create a space where it's safe. Like people can say like, look, today is not my day. Okay, do you want to talk about it? Yes, okay, talk about it. You don't want to talk about it? We won't talk about it.
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of clubs out there, but the key for all of us is just, we're not competing. Like I'm not competing for clients with you. I'm not competing with Coach B. We're all on the same page. We're just trying to make this crazy world we live in a little bit better.
Yes, that's key, right? I love that you mentioned that because, that 1% or 2% better role every day,
Yes,
with our clients,
I
with
agree.
ourselves, with the community, that's huge. And, like you said, we're not competing with one another. We have our clients, but these clients can come to you because we all have our specialty. We all have our, niche, right? And
Right.
that's a huge one. So I'm always open to like referring clients out and, sending them your way, and, appreciate you doing the same whenever
Absolutely.
someone expresses that to you. But with that said, I want to be respectful of your time. So I want to make sure we fit in what I usually finish with, which is like some questions. Are you ready for this? Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so basically what I'll do is ask you a question. It could be like a one word answer. It could be like a short sentence. But
Okay.
the goal is like to allow people to learn more about Coach Irina, Dr. Irina. Okay.
Okay.
So with that said, here's the first question. So, what or who is your daily motivation?
My kids.
Your kids. I love that. I love that. Same. My daughter is my motivation. Okay. Um, what made you choose to start your career as a DPT?
Because I like to watch people journey to get better, like from either surgery or injury, and then see them do what they love. Like the best thing I can see is go for a race and see my clients ahead of me and just killing it.
I
And
love
that
that.
happens every race. No matter where I travel, I will find somebody like, Coach Arena. And I am amazing with faces. I don't remember the name. So I use my friends like, oh, this is my friend Sabrina, and they will introduce themselves. I'm just terrible with names. Like, I can tell you the injury, the surgery, the surgeon name, like all the things, but there's certain names I don't know what's wrong with me. I just can't try. Especially if it's like a unique name, from a different culture.
Yes.
It's just hard for me.
It's hard as a coach. We have so many faces we see. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I've learned ways to associate, and that kind of is the best way.
Yeah.
Association
Yeah.
with their name, it works. We can practice that next time I see you. Uh, so with that said, the DPT part. So when did you exactly decide to add the run coaching piece to your business, to your expertise?
Summer of 2021.
Okay, so you mentioned that earlier, right? Like because of the
Yeah.
pandemic, it forced you to get
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
space, right? That's wonderful because you're doing amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and those that are watching, listening, I see it firsthand. Like I'm out there with my group, we're running at 5 a.m. and Coach Irina and Coach V and Too Legit, they're out there doing the same thing. So it's fun to see. We're out in the community, which is awesome. You mentioned family is important to you, right? Your kids.
Yeah.
How do you get them involved with fitness or movement in general? Like what do you practice with them to get them to move or do something fitness related?
Yeah. So I take them to the gym. They go to kids club, but at least they know like going to the gym is just part of life. They come to run with me. They already, I don't know, ran a handful of kids runs. They're competitive. I have no idea where they got that from. And and I actually running a 5K, was it a couple weekends with my son. And initially he's like, we're gonna race. And I'm like, okay, do you realize my 5K is like sub 22 minutes? And he's like, oh. Okay. But he's competitive. You know, they do 1 mile every week in middle school.
Yeah.
And he will tell me like, Mom, I did 7:45. Next week, I did 7:15. And he's like so proud of himself from progression. And now he took my old Alpha Flies. If you guys don't know, it's like a super shoe, like metal plate, fiber plate, whatever, carbon
Mm.
plate. And he did 6:10. And he comes to me, it's like, Mom, tell me the truth. Is it better than you? And part of me, I'm like, my Garmin telling me it's 6:10, but technically it was like 6:20 because it wasn't on the track setting. So total time was 6:23. And I was like, yeah, you beat me. So now he thinks he's going to beat me. But he's very smart. So I know what he's going to do. He's going to stay with me. And then when he sees the finish line, he's a faster sprinter than me.
Mhm.
Like it will take a long time. I mean, I can beat him, but I will not want to pull my hamstrings. So, and for his confidence, I'm like, my husband's like, just let him win. I'm like, I'm gonna make him work, but yes, he's gonna beat me, and I am okay with that because now my daughter runs too, and she was my delay baby. She didn't walk until she was 25 months, which is not normal. You typically start walking about 10 months, 12 months, 18 months. She went to PT for almost 3 years, but now she's playing soccer. That's the reason why I became a Girls on the Run coach. We actually start today at her elementary school. She can't participate, but she will next year. So that's why I'm huge on youth. We got to start them young. So then, you know, I mean, not to be cliche, they are our future, right? So, and I want that to be part of life. So both my kids play sports. It's not forced. It's just my only rule is if you start the season, you just have to finish.
Yeah.
Because we don't quit. That's what I tell them. We're not a quitters. You don't like it, I'm okay, but you got to stick it out. Because if you have a project at work and you hated it, you can't just quit.
Right. I love
Right.
that.
So I try to use running as life lessons, right? Because I feel like running is like life, right? So either you run marathons or half marathons, 5Ks or Spartan races. It teaches you to be resilient because, you know, we all know life is not all sunshine. I wish it was, but
No.
it's not. We're gonna have dark times and we're gonna have a hard times. And I think running kind of helps me with that because, you know, we all have those moments.
100%. And I love that you say running is life, because would you say that's your motto, or would you say that's like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
I
I
love
think
that.
so.
Running is life. I'm going to remember that. Thank you for sharing that. I have or a couple more questions for you. Okay. You mentioned earlier you're training for Boston Marathon. Is there any other like fitness endeavors that you're trying to chase, you know, in life? You know, think long term, bucket list.
Yeah. I think eventually I would love to do all those marathon majors, you know, like New York. I've done Chicago a few times. I'm waiting today to see if I get into New York. Fingers crossed. I tried for 12 years, so we'll see. I can do it with charity. Because my kids are so young, I'm kind of just trying out and see. I would love to do ultra marathon at some point. High rocks is kind of intriguing. I told you that before. I was like, that's like kind of in my because it's more running
Yeah.
than Deca, I think. So I've seen it, and one of my friends like, we should try it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So because it's gonna complement my running, because you know I'm gonna be stronger and things like that. So and triathlon is kind of my thing. So I love water. Like I love running by the water, by the ocean. It's my thing. I try to find races next to like Hawaii and, you know, like beautiful places, different places. So it's not like the same marathon I run every year. But I'm not a good swimmer. Like I was afraid of water for a long time. Now I'm not. So I would love to do like a try. And in my lifetime, I would love to do Ironman, but I have to wait until my kids maybe in college because that's like a year of training. And I just don't have the time, the commitment. And I'm one of those people, like if I commit 120%. And my family's first. That's why I created this business, an idea that I don't have to ever miss a play, a soccer tournament, a taekwondo meets or whatever sports. So I missed a couple, but it's because of my races, not because like I was working and I couldn't get time off.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
that's
love
why
that.
I created my business, so I have control. Because like I said earlier, there are so little for like like they say, what you only have 18 summers, and my son is 11, so I only have 7,
Yeah. Oh,
and then he
wow.
goes to college, and that's scary if you think about it. It's just like mind blowing. So I try to spend as much time every day, and I include my kids. Like my kids will come to some clients, especially if it's just like a boot camp style or strength training or runner. I would just like, you can just chill out or run or and now they start picking up weights because they're just like laying around in my living room. Even my daughter's like, I can do 5 pounds, and she's like, but it's so cute because she's like, I don't know, barely 33 pounds.
Yeah.
on,
It's
on her
powerful.
button. But it's huge because for them it's normal. And I talk to them in nutrition, like I'm very careful because I don't want them to have like a thing about, we don't talk about scale because especially girls, I don't want her to, that's why I'm huge on girls in the run. They teach you confidence and body imaging and all the things. We got to start that early because, you can be strong, sparring athlete and still run. You don't need to look like, then back in the days it's like the skinnier you are the faster you are. There are truth to that, but I love that now even elites like Emma Bates is like or Sarah Hall, like those are the ones I follow. Like if you look what they do in the gym, it's phenomenal. Yes, they're skinny, but they can lift like crazy amount of weight. They're just very strong and it's all muscle.
Mhm.
So that's what like I put some good muscle in the last 2.5 years being in the gym 4 days a week, and
Yeah.
I'm faster
Yeah.
because of that.
It translates, right? So that's
Yeah.
the thing. And a lot of people, especially girls, they tend to not want to do that style of training because, like you said, they're afraid what it might do to change their body. But ultimately, you want more muscle on your frame, right? The more
Yeah.
lean
Well, it's the whole like myth though, like strength training is going to make me bulky or, it's going to make me slower. Well, if they just try and know that that's actually the opposite. I mean, to get bulky, we all know, like I have to be in the gym full 5 hours, eating chicken breast like every second of the day in order to get enough protein to actually like, it's not that easy. Like I had to work really, really hard to gain whatever I had. So yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful. And that's a powerful message that you just, stated that, right? So the nutrition piece is a big component to changing your body composition, right? Outside
Right.
of the training piece. So, and obviously sleep and all that stuff.
Right.
So last question I have for you. What superhero or superpower would you want to have in your arsenal as an athlete, as a coach, or whatever? Like, what would make you better as Coach Irina or Dr. Irina?
Wish everybody listens to me. I'm just kidding. I'm actually not kidding. I wish people just listen because a lot of times I tell them what to do, and then later on they end up hiring me, and then they're like, "Oh, I wish I listened the first time. I just lost 6 months of this injury that just bugs me, and I did what you told me, and I'm better in 1 week." And I'm like, "Yeah, now you know how I feel because I feel for them. I'm a very empath person, so I feel when they're in pain, I feel it for them." And knowing what I know, and I'm like, I'm just giving you this information, just, but like I said in my previous podcast, some people are just not ready to receive it. And as a mature coach, I'm realizing that's okay. So if they don't hire you now, it doesn't mean it's no, it's just not yet. Some people are just not ready. I'm not necessarily they have to be like hitting rock bottom, but sometimes they do. They have to figure it out on their own. And it's them that need to know that they need help. Because if they don't see it, they just the relationship coach to athlete is not going to be ideal. Like they need to, because I can tell them what to do. They can figure out on the internet what to do. I can harass them every day, like, hey, did you do it? Did you do it? But if there's something like mentally or some external environment that's happening at home or work or stresses and all the things, and they can't control it themselves, because you can't do it for them.
Right.
Like, I can't run marathons for people. So like they have to have a bigger why. And that's going back to what we talked before. Like, we have to figure out what that why is.
Right. That's
And if we can tap into that and then show them what they're capable of, because a lot of times they don't know. We know, we see it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you had people in your life that are like, Joe, like, you can do more. And you're like, no, I didn't. And then they show you like, no, look, and that's why I like taking videos. I was like, no, but look what you did. Look, all the numbers and all the things. And now you're doing that. But we forget. Like, people had to remind me, like, but you started here. Like, do you remember this? I'm like, no. So like, we have to look back and appreciate all the successes and all the failures. Well, for me, I don't say failures, I say lessons. All the lessons we learn, it's just the toolbox to get you to the big goal or legacy that you're trying to build.
Yeah, your best self, right? That you're trying to
Yeah.
become, right? So I love that. I wanted to close off with giving you an opportunity to kind of give everyone that's listening and watching Coach Irina, Dr. Irina's like last, tip or advice or things like that. Like, if you had one thing to say to any athlete that's listening or watching, or a person that's dealing with pain, like you mentioned earlier, the Advil piece, that was, for me, that's powerful, because I have a lot of clients that go, oh, I'm going to pop an Advil. Let's go, coach. I'm going to work out with you. And I'm like, no. So,
Right.
So what's that one piece of advice you want to leave the audience with?
So what I want to tell all the athletes is, one, start doing something. Like, don't get intimidated. You just have to start. Either reach out to that buddy or a friend. Either, if you go to run, just start with walking. Start small, but stay consistent. The key is consistency. And there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of, Coach Arenas out there. Maybe not the same, different philosophy. You just have to find a person that gets you. But there's a lot of people. All you have to do is knock, text, call, and ask for help. And there's no shame on that. Like, we all need help. But you have to start. Don't wait. And if you're injured, just don't just rest. And when I say don't, if something hurt, don't sit on the couch. And, it's okay to have a pity talk, a pity party, like, do all that. Feel sorry for yourself. That's part of like the grieving process and all the things. But then there's a lot you can do. You can active recovery, just reach out to professional. And that's one thing I wanted to say. In California, you have a direct access. So you do not need to go to a doctor or physician to get a script to PT to see me, or any PTs for that matter, or chiropractors. You can just walk in, call me, or go to a clinic and be like, hey, I have this pain. Can you help me? Because a lot of times rest is not an answer. And that's like the myth. Like, my mission in life is just to break it. Like, there's so much we can do. You can go on the bike, you can swim, you can do strength training, you can do a lot of things to kind of progress it. Maybe you're not supposed to run, but unfortunately physicians don't elaborate enough to tell you, like, what I mean is, like, don't run yet, but you can do biking, elliptical, swimming, and strength training. Let's get all the muscles around where the problem is. And also, let's figure out what's the root of the problem. Like, you might have an ankle mobility issue, but then your knee hurts, then your hip hurts, and then the opposite shoulder, and then the hip, and the this and that. Let's figure it out. Because if you just mobilize, just foam roll, like, do the symptoms control, it just doesn't get you there. You're just, in a sense, wasting your time. Like, they are important, but like, when I get into the root cause, because what's happening, you take 2 weeks off, your pain goes away. No matter what, at some point your pain will go away. Your body adjusts, your brain adjusts to the pain, right? But the root cause, guess what? It's still there. So when you be like, oh, I feel better, let me take the Advil. Oh, I feel even better, let me go for a run. Oh, I feel great. And then 2 hours later, you're like, I can't even get up. Oh, my hip. And then you're doing all of these things and this things and you're meeting and your body's like, are you all right? It's like, oh, my back is just killing me. You know what I mean? The only time, like I said before, I will shut down people if I suspect a stress factor. If there's any gut feeling of mine that there's like overuse, you ran too much, and there's other components why some people will get like a bone, bone issue, then I will shut you down. But just for running, I'm gonna put you on the bike, and I will. If you're in the boot, I will tell you go to the gym. You can. There's so much you can do. As you know, you work out. Just because you can't use your leg, like I mean, you have a whole like core and the glute. I mean, you can do a lot of things, even if you're in the boot. So there's power to, and like you said, I tell people, movement is medicine, motion is lotion. So even if you have arthritis, you gotta move, because if you're gonna sit there, you're gonna get stiffer.
Yeah,
You know.
love that.
So.
That's powerful. Oh wow, thank you, Coach Irina. So with all that said, what's the best way for a potential client or athlete that wants to reach out to you? How can they? What are your contacts basically?
Yeah, so I think the best way is Instagram. It's just RunRocket PT. I do have a website, but it's in the process of revamping. It is up. It's runrocketpt.com. But I'm in the process of making, change it up, photos and all of those things. But yeah, that's probably the easiest. Just DM me, and you don't have to be injured to see me. Like if you just have questions, I'm kind of an open book. You can always send me questions and I will answer you. If it's out of scope of my practice, I will refer you. Like if you want to train for a Spartan, I'm not your coach. It's going to be Joe, and things like that. If you need nutrition help, I have a nutritionist. If you're a woman with a women health issues, I have OT, I have PT. Like I have like kind of a list of resources that I refer out. I have a chiropractor I trust. And things like that. I have a sprinter coach. You know, through my years, I kind of build up my list of people I trust. So yeah, that's probably the easiest.
All right, I love it. Thank you for mentioning me regarding Spartan Race, because that's a big passion of mine. So I appreciate that. So everyone listening, watching, remember, follow Dr. or Coach Irina at RunRocket PT. That's RunRocket PT. Check her out. Look at her Instagram. Follow, like I said, look at her stories, look at her reels, because she has a lot of valuable content there. I look at it myself, and I'm constantly learning new things as I see her putting up content. So, and being on the track Wednesdays at 5 a.m. with my group, along with her group, it's just very inspiring to see all the people out there. So everyone needs to get out there and move. And like Coach Irina said, movement's medicine. We keep saying that as coaches, and it's very important to remember that. So thank you, Dr. Irina, for being on here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Let me end the recording. Awesome.